So if you just want to start out by telling us how anyone can approach training to build muscle in a sustainable way.
Yeah. So what I love about hypertrophy training, which that's just the scientific word for building muscle, getting bigger. Um, there's a bunch of different ways to go about it. There's tons of ways to skin a cat. But I can think of two things that need to be present in every single hypertrophy program, however you go about it. And that's one, it is proximity to failure. So how close you get to local muscular failure. And then in saying that too, is that you just need to use technique that makes the muscle you're looking to target the limiting factor of the exercise. So if I get done with a set of 10 on squats and I'm looking to target my quads, bias my quads, because that's a big compound exercise. You're hitting a bunch of muscles that are aside from your quads. When I finish a set, I want it to be because that my quads gave out over everything else. So I don't want it to be because another muscle group, say like glutes, give out, or say other systems like cardiovascular system. If I finish a set, I don't want it to be because like I'm winded. And then like if I were to ask myself, what kept you from being able to continue with that set, I want it to be because the quads gave out. So that's just an example. So those two things, as long as you have those present, you're doing a lot of good if your goal is to build muscle hypertrophy. And then on top of that, if I had to give some parameters, when we're talking about, how many sets a week should I be doing, or rep ranges, stuff like that. Generally, it's a big range because there's so much variance depending on like somebody's training age, like how new they are to it or how advanced they are. Say like 6 to 20 sets per week per muscle group is generally where you'll find yourself. If you're more of a beginner intermediate, you actually might need more sets than somebody who's advanced because, you aren't as efficient with technique and you aren't as, technique is a skill in itself. Being able to push yourself to muscular failure, which is, I say it as if it's an easy thing to do and it's just something you do every set, but it's very difficult, So if you don't have those skills, you might need more sets in order to get the amount of effective reps needed to build muscle. When I say effective reps, I'm talking about like those last 5 reps of a set. So if I'm going for a set of 15 on bicep curls, those last 5-ish reps where you see like the rep speed really start to slow down, that's when the biceps are experiencing the highest degrees of mechanical tension. And that's just the force that they experience during the exercise. Those are the 5 reps when, all my muscle fibers are being recruited, being taxed. Those are the ones that really matter. Those first 10 are just to get me to that point. So theoretically, you could do a set of just 5 and you could get the job done. The thing is, you have to be really skilled to do that. So, that's why beginners and intermediates might need, they might need 10 sets of chest on one day because they aren't as efficient with their work. But somebody such as myself or anybody who's kind of advanced, they can get the same job done in, say, 4 or 5 sets. So it's really variable. It's not like this black and white thing that not everyone can run the same program because a lot of people just have different needs. So we talked. Go ahead.
Yeah, because when you're experienced, you know where your numbers are at. I've noticed recently that I've been more of I know where I can start at, and not so much like I know where I could start at in the past, but it was lighter, a lot lighter than it is now, and it was less accurate. Like say I was bench pressing, I would start with like 185. Now I'm starting with like 200 because even though it doesn't seem like a crazy jump, but if you're starting with 15 more pounds, it's a more accurate start point for you to start with your sets and with your reps.
Yeah. And you mean like 205, like that's your working set, or like you walk into the gym and you throw 205 in the bar, like you start warming up?
I start warming up with 205. But
yeah,
but I do like 6 to 5 reps per set. That's like my range.
Yeah. And so like when I say 6 to 20, I don't remember if I said working sets or not, but I mean like working sets, 6 to 20
Yeah.
working sets. So that's not including, you know, the few warm up sets you have leading up to it. And typically like when I do it, I'm leading up to a top weight. And then each set after that, you're going to see, if you really are, this is how you know if you're getting yourself close to that failure point, is if you start to see a drop off in either the reps you're able to do at the same weight, or, if you're working in a desired rep range, you might have to drop the weight to stay in that rep range. So, a chest day, say for example, I go in and I do a chest press machine and I want to stay in the 8 to 15 rep range. My first top set, it might be 100 pounds for 12 reps. Set two, it might drop down to 100 pounds for 8 reps. I'm at the bottom of my rep range now. I have one more set I need to do. So now I have to lower the weight to get back in that rep range. That's sort of that's how it'll look when you are really getting close to local muscular failure, you know, getting the highest degrees of mechanical tension you can, recruiting the largest muscle fibers. And the reason why that also happens is that the largest muscle fibers, they're capable of producing a lot of force. These are the biggest fibers you have, but the trade-off is they fatigue really quickly. So that's why you see that rapid drop off in performance. If you're going in and you're doing, you know, 5 sets of 15, same weight on the same exercise, you're probably leaving some in the tank.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing like 4 to 6 rep ranges specifically. And I don't know, do you practice like upper limit and lower limit? Like if you hit your upper limit, then you go up 5 pounds. If you hit your lower limit, you drop 5 pounds. If you hit five, like the middle, you stay there. Has that been something that you practiced at all?
Over like the short term, like in the same workout, or long term?
I mean, I only did it today. Actually, I just read up on it a little bit before the podcast, actually. So I just tried it today and it felt good because every time I would hit 6, I would go up 5. And it kind of put me on this like steady increase. And I got to a point where I would hit 5 reps and I was like, okay, like I'm good here.
Yeah. So like that's like kind of a micro version of working up to a top weight.
Yeah.
So I guess so if you're somebody who's trying to figure out where you fall, like with a certain weight, and you're trying to hit a desired rep range, that's what you would do. But once you do that once, you know where you're at for each workout following that.
Okay.
So next time you go in, say you did that method and then you ended up getting to, I'm just throwing out an example, you got to 200 pounds on bench press for 5 reps. That's your target for next workout.
Mm.
And then, but the thing is, next workout that might end up being 6, which is fine. That's progressive overload. And then, so now so we'll get to progressive overload now. Workout to workout, it's just a matter of beating your numbers. So if you're hitting 200 pounds for 5 reps, one workout, next workout, you need to hit 6.
Mm.
That is what causes your body to adapt each week to that training stimulus. And it tells it that it needs to keep building more muscle. So that's why it's important to track all your training variables, the exercises you do each week, how many sets, weight, reps, all of it, because that's your measuring stick for muscle growth.